Hello. First of all, a question. How many of you have ever learned to play a musical instrument? Hands up. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. So my mum gave me this violin when I was 6 years old. She was rather, I think, ambitious mother. And she effectively said, play. And I was quite a precocious chap, and I stood up confidently and put the violin to my chin and just went. And it sounded awful. But that awful sound lodged in my brain, and the sequence of events that led to that awful sound also lodged in my brain. And next time I picked up the violin, I tried not to repeat those mistakes. I tried to do something differently. And this concept, this ability to learn from a past experience and use that learning to decide what actions to take in future is a key to human intelligence. And I just want you to remember that for the next few minutes or so. Because right now, one of the biggest questions in the world is, can computers be intelligent? Can computers exhibit intelligence? And until quite recently, the answer was frankly no. They were absolutely woeful at this. They were great at storing large swathes of information and processing it really quickly. But computers really lacked the ability to learn from a previous experience and decide how to act in future. But this is changing, and I think it's really exciting. I'm going to show you a video. And this video exhibits one of the revolutions that's happened with computer intelligence recently. And it demonstrates a technique of artificial intelligent programming called deep reinforcement learning. And this wonderful team, who are actually based here in London, DeepMind, have put this to, first of all, a really good use in teaching a computer or getting a computer to learn how to play a computer game by itself. This is a computer that has learned to play the game Atari Breakout. And if we play this video, you'll see how the computer gradually learns how to play the game over time. After 100 training episodes, basically 100 goes at this game, it is awful. It's woeful. It keeps on missing the puck and just dying. But it gradually learns from its past experiences and gets better. After 200 episodes of playing the game, it's still not great, but it's certainly getting better and scoring more heavily. And it really starts to improve rather quickly. And what you'll see in a second is that pretty quickly it becomes even better than the best human players are at playing Atari Breakout. It learns the optimal strategy of really cleverly tunneling behind the wodge of bricks and just getting the puck to do all the work for it. And this is not something that any human had ever worked out how to do optimally. And it just absolutely nails it. And I think what's more exciting is that AI is not just learning how to play computer games, but learning how to do other things as well, learning how to drive cars or trade stocks. But I think one thing that people really argue over is whether AI will ever be creative. They'll say, hey, yes, I can see AI performing repetitive tasks really well, but I just don't agree. I just don't think that an AI can exhibit creativity. And I passionately disagree with this. And because of that, I want to explain why and also show you what's possible. So why do I disagree? Well, I think we need to look at what creativity is. And quite a traditional school of thought. And if you had spoken to people like the composer Bach or the artist Beyoncé, they would have said, hey, you know what, when I write a piece of music, I am channeling something ethereal, something transcendental, something that I can't explain in rational terms. Bach might have said an act of God. I don't know what Beyonce would have said, but she might say it's something I can't quite explain. That's one school of thought. But there's another school of thought grounded in a more scientific approach, which says that creativity is this. Creativity involves three elements. It involves immersing yourself in a particular world. So say you're creating music. It's immersing yourself in the world of music. It's assimilating the information. It's basically learning about the world of music and storing that knowledge in your brain. And then it's using that knowledge and recombining it in different ways to produce something new. So I listen to the works of the Beatles and the works of Bach, and I smash those two together and create something new. And what I really like about this is that there's no reason why a computer can't do this. There's no law of physics that suggests that a computer can't perform any of those three steps. And I think this leads to the question, like, if a computer can be creative, why is there no AI creativity? Well, I think the simple answer is there is. This is a poem written word by word by a computer. It was written actually, or the program was developed by a student in Duke University in the States. And he trained an artificial intelligence on a series of poems. And that intelligence, that AI, gradually learned what made a good poem and started to make new poems out of that. Or take this work of art. This work of art is a machine called Aaron, and it was developed actually in the 1970s. And ever since 1970, it's been learning more and more about the world of art. It's been immersing itself in that world of art. It's been assimilating that information, learning that information, and using that information and recombining it in different ways to produce new works of art. And I want to take a second to show you what I'm working on with a startup I'm building called Jukedeck. We are building an artificially intelligent music composer. This is software that writes original music note by note from scratch. And it involves machine learning and thus is getting better all the time. What this means is that at the start, it didn't sound great. In 2014, when we started, or just after we started, this is what it sounded like. People laughed in our faces. They were like, "What are you doing? This sounds awful. Why would I ever listen to this music?" And we sadly got turned away from many events. If we had probably sort of come to Wired, they would have said, this is weird, this is stupid. But because our system learns more and more over time, it gradually picks up more and more knowledge of music and gets better. And here's a track which was created completely from scratch by our system a few weeks ago. So, no human intervention in this track. This is a computer thinking by itself and thinking, what makes a nice piece of music? How can I create something new? And for us, this is phenomenally exciting. And I think it isn't creating in quite the same way as we might create, but I'm not totally sure that matters. I I think it does not matter how something is created necessarily, but what matters is the effect. Like if I listen to two pieces of music, one created by a computer and one created by a human, if they affect me emotionally in the same way, then that end result is what I'm looking for as a listener. And a wonderful computer science professor came up with this quote: "The question of whether machines can think is about as relevant as the question of whether submarines can swim. What matters is the effect." And you might also be thinking, oh God, like, what will this mean? Like, should I no longer play this violin? Should all the artists in the world go home? I completely disagree with that as well, because I think we engage with art and creative works for a variety of different reasons. On the left is one of my favorite artists right now, and it's a Canadian electronic duo called Tennyson. And I thoroughly recommend you check them out if you get a second. I listen to Tennyson, yes, because of the end track, but also because of the backstory they have and the creative process that I know they undergo and that I learn about through following them online. It's like why you go to a Justin Bieber concert or a Taylor Swift concert. You go because of the music, yes, but you go for so much more than that. So I don't think this is going to spell the end of artists. Second of all, I play the violin because I enjoy playing the violin. Just because a system is going to be able to create the end sound doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing the violin. I'm just going to carry on enjoying it for the sheer pleasure of it. So I don't think this is going to spell the end of music or the doom and gloom of creativity. Quite the opposite, in fact. I think the possibilities that result from AI being able to be creative are immense. And I'm just going to mention a couple of them. One is that an AI, when AI can be creative, it will allow more people to be creative. With our system, we're developing capabilities that allow people who have not had the privilege and good fortune to be trained at playing the violin or trained in the world of music to be able to create much more intuitively, simply by pushing and pulling levers and shaping things in a potentially more natural way than picking up this strange wooden object. Second of all, it will make possible some phenomenal new experiences. With music, when you've got a system that can create music note by note from scratch, it can do so very quickly. That's just, computers can work incredibly fast. And that will result in being able to create music that dynamically reacts to what's going on around us, who we are, where we are, what we're doing, and how we're feeling. And just to give you two examples to end with, say you are trying to get to sleep at the end of this long day at Wired. What if you had a system that could sense your physiology, what's going on inside your brain, and compose you the perfect soundtrack to lull you to sleep? Or what if you're going out for a run? What if you had a system that could sense how tired you are, how far you wanted to run, and learned how to create the perfect soundtrack to enable you to complete your run? Those are the sorts of experiences which are not possible right now, but will be possible when AI can become creative. So I'm just going to be finished and say AI is becoming creative, but it's nothing to be feared. It's going to make a whole new raft of experiences and creativity possible. And I challenge you as the next generation to think really hard about how you can take advantage of that. Thank you.